My name is Oshun. On this channel, we uncover the creepiest, most unusual haunted TikToks the internet has to offer for entertainment purposes. Y'all are my soul tribe. Tribe is with a Y because the Y is for you, and that's because I love you so freaking much. Appreciate you. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I do not take your time for granted, honey. As you can see, I am in a different area, okay? I have moved. I am now a Georgia resident, okay? Thank you. Welcome to me, Georgia. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. All right. In Florida, I still love you. Of course, Pittsburgh, I still love you. That's my hometown, okay? But, I'm trying to be a country girl. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all already know what to do with the video. Now let's get to this video.
Since you were 16 years old, you had to get it out the mud. Even though you had siblings who didn't have to do the same. So whenever you got your first job, you wanted your nails done, you had to pay for that. You wanted your hair done, you had to pay for that. You wanted to go to prom, you had to pay for that. You wanted a class friend, you had to pay for that. And you also had to choose what bill you wanted to pay in the house. Now, at first, you was a little bit salty about it. But now that you're older and more mature, you realize that it made you the woman that you are today. But you knew that whoever you met, decided to be with, would have to have the same type of work ethic that you have. And you dated a few people who didn't. But now you finally found a person that you feel like do. Been living together for over a year. Y'all both pay the bills. It's not 50-50. Because, I mean, he pays more. You just kind of like pitch in. But anyway, as you were saving your money, you decided you wanted a bag. A very expensive bag. A Birkin. So you did what needed to be done and you got it. Not even a week later, y'all house was broken into and it was stolen. Now, some other things were stolen too. A couple of TVs.
How you living?
The man PlayStation. Some of the games that went along with it. Looked like they probably would have tried to steal more, but they didn't really have enough time. So y'all filed a police report, submitted a claim with y'all renter's insurance, and went on about y'all day. So not even 48 hours after the robbery, why you get on social media and you see your man mama posted up in a Perkin Bean project with a Birkin on. Birkin identical to the Birkin that was stolen out of your house 48 hours prior.
So you said story time and I found out that when I was 8 months pregnant. So I thought I was the second baby mama, but I turned out I was the third baby mama. He had got another girl, like she was pregnant like a month before me, so her baby was due in August. My son was due in September. So this particular day, he supposed to been in the hospital with her while she had the baby. Y'all don't understand the type of pain when you have to watch your man go and see another female have her baby. Whoo, child, I've been through it. Okay. Anyways.
Oh hell no.
So he's supposed to be at the hospital with her after she had a baby. I guess as soon as she had a baby, he dipped off with the first baby mama. Him and the first baby mama don't get along at all. So he ended up putting his hands on her, taking that baby to another female house he was cheating on me with. The baby mama and her best friend, guy best friend, he came over. They came over, knocked on my back door and was asking if I had a son, because prior to that, 4 days in a row, she called the police on me because she didn't know that her son was coming to my house. Cause my baby daddy was lying and saying that he was roommates with a guy with this particular person, and he was which was my cousin that was staying with me, but he was telling her that it was him, that my cousin was his cousin, and they was roommates. So when she was finding out that the baby was actually my apartment and I was around her baby, she got called the police. So she comes to my back door or whatever, she knocking, thinking that her baby at my house. I'm like, no, he's definitely not here. And she like, oh, I don't got no smoke with you, such. So she tell me that they still fucking and all this other stuff, but okay to me. So when she leave, she told me that she was pressing charges on him for putting his hands on her. So I guess somehow throughout the day, he ended back up at her house and the police come and arrest him. They give his phone to her, because I also found out that the phone was in her name. And they get the phone to her. She go through the phone. She hit me up, say that I think you need to go through this phone. So I like me, I ain't the baby mama crew type of person, but you say okay. And she told me I need to go get checked up. So I let her come over. I get the phone, go through the phone. I see that he's talking with he's talking with a punk about a punk. And the punk that him and the punk talking about, I'm mutually friends with this punk on Facebook.
I'm not surprised.
Not only was those messages on the phone, and the messages were basically the punk was telling my baby daddy not to fuck with the other punk. So I hit the punk up on Facebook, asked him, let him know I was 8 months pregnant, and I seen his name mentioned between another punk and my baby daddy, and I wanted to know what was going on. So he hit me back, told me to send me a picture of my baby daddy. I sent him a picture. He said, yeah, they messed around in 2017, which is the year that I got pregnant with my son. So my baby daddy was he was in jail when I found out about it. So when he got out, of course I addressed him about it, and he really never denied it, or he just like,
just be what you
want to believe and
with yourself and with your woman.
But the punk asked me not to like really be dramatic because he was engaged at the time. I'm pretty sure they're married now, but he was engaged and really didn't want no mess. So yeah.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's women out here that will be with the shits, okay? Be honest. If that's what you like, that's what you like. Be honest. Let us decide, okay? That's not cool at all.
Who the fuck did I become friends with?
Should she make a story time?
So you don't have to. Now this story takes place on 2 different profiles. This is Nessa and this is Chandler. They're kind of in like a beef. They were friends back in 2016. They fell out shortly after that, and I guess this girl Nessa decided to make a story time calling her a monitoring spirit and a crazy ex-best friend. They were friends from November 2016 to about March 2017, so about 5 months, but they hung out.
I love her breakdowns.
Kind of feel like it was
sit back and relax.
So the way we're going to do it is we're going to go over what Nessa said, and then we're going to double back and see what Chandler said as a response to it.
Okay.
Right? So Nessa starts out the story and said she was living in Hollywood when she met this person, and this person lived really far away, and she would drive hours away to come see Nessa and hang out with her. Now, at the time, Chandler did both. She lived very far from LA, and Nessa was in Hollywood when they were both friends. So obviously, when Nessa's doing the story, the thing is she was being really vague. She wasn't saying the person's name. She wasn't really calling them out. She left it up to the audience to assume who it was about. And so people started sending that video over to Chandler, and so Chandler obviously tapped it, and she was like, is this girl talking about me again? Because this isn't the first time over the past few years that Nessa has done a story time either on TikTok or on YouTube about Chandler. So then Chandler's like listening, and she's like, wait, is this about me? I'm not sure, because yeah, we were friends when you were in Hollywood. Yeah, like I live very far away, but she wasn't exactly sure yet. But as she went through that story time, she realized she was talking about her. Nessa claims that they met through a girl, and then Chandler's like, no, we met through a boy named Steven. Nessa said that in her story time that she used to wear color contacts, and then shortly after that, Chandler started copying her. And then to top it off, that any outfit that Nessa would put on, Chandler would copy it almost to a T just a few days later. Almost like the whole Hailey Bieber Selena situation, like that was happening. And so Chandler's response was like, first of all, here's my proof. She shows the screenshots of her having blue color contacts in her eyes since like 2015, and she again did not meet this girl until 2016. So she's like, no. And she's like, mind you, I didn't even know you wore color contacts when we were friends. So the layout of the response videos, right? Nessa makes this story time, and then Chandler makes a response, and then Nessa makes a response, and then Chandler makes the 10-part series, and then Nessa makes a final little short video. I can't find that video on her page, but I found it when I just searched up both of their names. It popped up. I guess she deleted it. But that's the order of the video.
I'll be annoyed if it's not.
When Chandler responded, Nessa made a second response, and she was like, hey guys, the person I made a story time about calling them a monitoring friend has made a response talking about this response video. And so this confirms to Chandler what she was already thinking, that this original video was about her indeed. And then when it came to like wearing the same clothes as her, Chandler was like, maybe if we were intentionally like planning on twinning, we did that, but I never wore the same outfits as her. And Chandler was like, show the receipts if that's true. And then Nessa goes on to accuse Chandler of stealing some $750 like Stuart Weitzman boots, but Nessa said that Chandler stole them out of her room and that they had like a specific mark on them. And Nessa saw Chandler wearing them. She was like, what the hell? And she looked, and the exact same specific mark that was on her boots was on the boots that Chandler had on. And Chandler's like, first of all, I was never in
I'm already annoyed.
like your sacred spot.
This
You
better
didn't
be
let people
good.
inside of there, so I never stole shoes, jewelry, whatever you're talking about. And then she showed a picture of her in college, and Chandler's like, maybe you're talking about these boots that I'm wearing. I had these since like 2015 when I was in college. They're definitely not $750 boots. They're just like some regular boots. And if I already have these boots, why would I steal similar ones from you? And then Chandler said, to top it off, you're 5'10", I'm 5'4". We don't even wear the same sizes. Nessa would claim that anytime she would go on to tell Chandler that, hey, I got this brand deal, I'm so excited, I'm going to be working with Fashion Nova or Nordstrom's or H&M, Chandler would go and be like, oh, they offered me double. Oh, they're giving me this much. Basically trying to one-up her. And Chandler
I can't stand when people do that to me.
Time I ever worked with Fashion Nova before she ever met Nessa. She's like, if that conversation
so
ever happened,
annoying.
show me the receipts. Chandler said, quote me if I'm wrong, but I never worked with H&M or Nordstrom's. I've never done that. So how would I tell you that I got more money from them? Nessa also said that she confronted the person that stole from her, and Chandler was like, that never happened with me. She never confronted me. And on top of that, if that was the case, when me and her had that massive fallout back in 2017 that was very public, why didn't you bring it up that I was like
Shorty
stealing
psycho.
from you? Why didn't you drop that?
The one who's
tidbit
claiming
back
to
then?
have a
Why did you wait
monitoring
almost 10
spirit?
years
She's
to
the
bring it
psycho
up?
one.
Nessa go
I
on
bet.
to claim that whenever she got paid or made good money, she would take all her friends out and treat them. And Chandler's like, anytime
Nessa.
me and you were
Nessa's
out,
the
I paid
crazy
for
one.
everything
Watch.
that was mine, my food, everything. The only time she ever paid for her was a trip to London. And the trip to London that Nessa paid for, Chandler still handled all of her food, all of her shopping once they were out there. And the trip to London was Nessa paying her back basically for the fact that when they first met, it was around Nessa's birthday, and Nessa had no friends come out to celebrate her birthday. Chandler felt really bad about that, so she drove out all the way to LA to take her out to dinner. And so because, you know, Chandler showed that type of like kindness to her, Nessa went ahead and like took her to London. Chandler's like, yeah, maybe she did it bigger, but either way, she's never paid for me for anything outside of that. In Nessa's original story time where she's calling Chandler a monitoring spirit, she also was saying that Chandler was making fun of people on her live stream, basically saying like, I can't believe she got a nose job or got her jaw done or did this or did that. And then she went ahead and proceeded to go and get work done herself. And Chandler's like, I'm in social media, I'm an influencer. Why would I go on live and bash somebody for doing something? She's like, I first shared the fact that I got fillers back in 2019. What are you talking about? Not to mention, I got fillers back in 2019. Me and you stopped being friends in 2017. How did you even know that I got work done? That's weird. You're keeping tabs on me. There's no reason you should know anything about my life once me and you kind of like stopped being friends. And so in Nessa's response, the final video that I saw, Nessa says, oh, it's not that I was keeping tabs on you, it's that when me and you were friendly in 2021 for a bit, caught up in all the work that you had done, and I got to see everything you had, you know, done to your body. Chandler also mentioned she got her boob job in 2021, and Nessa was trying to say that, oh, Chandler's trying to be like me, look, she went and got her
This
boob
girl
done
has
too.
issues. I'm sure she
done
probably
2 years
wasn't
prior
thinking
to
about
you.
your
So you're
age.
saying anybody that does anything that you've done before all of a sudden is copying you? That can't be true. Chandler also mentions that they had no mutual friends after they fell out, so there was no way she could have found out from somebody. She had to have been keeping tabs on her through the internet to know that she got a boob job. So she fast forwards and she says that, you know, Nessa was claiming that Chandler was going after her exes. Chandler's like, no, I ran into one of your exes.
She wanted to do this to Chandler.
I was just informing him that I
That's
hope he
what she
knows
want.
that you're not actually pregnant.
Because
because one
baby,
day,
like, you're
Nessa had
tripping.
called Chandler crying, being like, oh my God, me and, you know, her boyfriend at that time, Jan, are breaking up. Chandler was friends with Nessa during that relationship and during the aftermath of that relationship. She drove to LA. She went to go be with Nessa. And while she's at her house, Nessa gets up, she goes to the bedroom, and she's talking to Jan for the rest of the night. Chandler actually ends up falling asleep on the couch. After a few hours, Nessa ends up coming outside and waking up Chandler and being like, hey, we need to go to Planned Parenthood in the morning. I need to figure out if I'm pregnant or not. And Chandler's like, well, what's going on? Like, how do you know you're pregnant? She's like, well, I have all these cravings and my period's late. And so Chandler's like, well, how late are you? And she said, well, I'm supposed to get my period in 2 weeks. Chandler's like, well, that doesn't mean you're pregnant. But they're like, okay, whatever, we'll go to Planned Parenthood in the morning.
I told you the bitch
Chandler
was
claimed that
weird.
she went to the back with
I told
her.
you
She
that,
was like,
what,
I don't
the
know
first
if
2
that's
minutes of the
allowed,
story?
but she went
I
to the
told
back
you
with her.
that.
Jessa had blood drawn, and this is where she found out that she actually wasn't pregnant. And when the nurse came out to tell, you know, Nessa that she wasn't pregnant, because she was obviously stressing about the breakup and all that, and the nurses can visibly see she's distraught. They come out, they're like, oh my God, girl, guess what? You're not pregnant. Like, congratulations. Chandler was like taken back by, you know, Nessa's reaction to finding out that she's not pregnant. Nessa's like, oh, really? Like, are you sure? Like, she actually seemed like she wanted to be pregnant. And so they end up going to the parking lot, and Jan is calling Chandler, and he's like trying to get a hold of Nessa, but he can't. And so he ends up calling Chandler and being like, hey, like, I want to talk to Nessa. So she tells Nessa, like, hey girl, like, pick up, Jan's been trying to call you. So she eventually picks up Jan's call. He's asking me, like, how is she doing? Da da da. And Nessa
What is
proceeds
his
to tell him,
name?
like,
That his
yeah,
name
I'm
is
pregnant. You need
Jan.
to come over so we can talk. And Chandler's literally jaw on the ground, like, what? Did we not just hear the
What's that
same thing in
short
that
for?
room together? And so she gets off the phone with Jan, and then Nessa looks at Chandler. She's like, yeah, girl, don't even worry. Like, I'm just pulling a prank on him. I just want him to come over so we can talk. Like, I'm gonna obviously tell him that we're not pregnant. So then after the fallout, when Chandler ran into Jan at that party, she was like, you do know that girl was never pregnant, right? Because Jan was expressing how stressed he was about the pregnancy and trying to figure everything out. And Chandler's looking at him at this party like, you do know she was lying. So she was shocked to find out, like, months later, she had not come true and confessed to Jan about the truth about the pregnancy. And then on Nessa's side, she's like, well, actually, I was pregnant. I ended up having a miscarriage with Jan's baby. And Nessa's like, I'm so surprised that she's willing to bring that whole situation
bitch is
up.
crazy.
In
I
this
told
whole,
you.
like, back and forth. It was actually a really traumatizing time for me. Ultimately, though, Chandler's like, I never went after this woman's exes. And then Chandler shows us a screenshot where Nessa comments back to someone saying, yeah, and then she revealed to people that I was pregnant, when in reality I actually had a miscarriage. And Chandler's doubling down and she's like, this girl was never pregnant. I don't know why she keeps telling people that. At least during that specific time with that specific man. On the contrary though, Chandler is like, I dated this guy named Ayo for a little bit, and once me and him had our little fling, we moved on. I didn't care much about it. After that, her and Nessa aren't friends at this time. Nessa ends up reaching out to Chandler and basically asking for permission if it's okay if she talks to Ayo, which obviously was kind of weird to Chandler because she's like, we're not even friends. Why would you care what I think? And I don't even think much of him, so it doesn't even bother me. And not to mention, like, I already knew you were messing with him. Like,
she was trying to rub it in her face if Chandler gave a fuck, but she didn't.
That Ayo and Nessa were spending time with each other, so she's like, "You're already
sloppy seconds." You're welcome.
Chandler said, in fact, Nessa also befriended one of my exes on Twitter, and she was kikiing with him and laughing and doing all of this. And she's like, "But I would never do something like that to her. I never went after her exes, never talked to him." But she basically made it seem like Nessa goes out of her way to befriend people that Chandler has specifically fallen out with. For example, there was another girl that Chandler was best friends with named Daisy, and her and Daisy fell out. And Nessa did the exact same thing. She went and befriended Daisy, and she started having her on her YouTube page. And so Chandler's like, do you not see the pattern? Like, I'm not the one still trying to have connections, befriend people, or have mutuals between me and Nessa. I try to clean cut her off and everybody that's associated with her as well. I just wanted to move on with my life completely. In Nessa's original story time, she also details that this monitoring spirit friend, which we all know is Chandler that she's talking about, that she was following her to countries that Nessa was going to. She's like, I went to Morocco, all of a sudden Chandler's in Morocco. I went to Spain, all of a sudden Chandler's in Spain. That's and so Chandler responds to that, and she's like, first of all, I've never been to Morocco. Second of all, Spain was the trip I took with you. We were in London and we took a day trip to Spain because it was like $40 to get an airplane ticket, and we went together. So like, I don't understand how that's me following you. Throughout Chandler's 10-part story, she keeps reiterating
that's true. That's weird on
Nessa was able
part.
to make this entire story time without offering any type of receipts, and people just ran with the storyline, and they came over to Chandler's page and were harassing her, talking about her, you know, calling her all types of names when they had no receipts to prove that what they were saying was even real. Chandler goes on to show us different screenshots of where commenters were asking Nessa underneath her original story time, asking her like, oh, is it about this person? Is it about that person? And she's specifically saying, no, it's not about this person. It's not about that person. When they ask if it's about Chandler, she wouldn't really respond, and she would either leave it vague or not respond at all, allowing people to run with the idea that it had to be about Chandler, even though it actually was. So when that first original monitoring spirit story came out, Nessa got a message from Chandler being like, hey, clarify to people that you're not talking about me, or I'm going to make a YouTube video and I'm going to spill all the tea. And so this is when
still got
Nessa's
10 more minutes of this, okay?
Talking about you. Chandler also points out, if I'm a monitoring spirit, why would I block you on TikTok? Wouldn't I want to be up to date with your information? Wouldn't I want to keep tabs? Chandler points out your story time is named No Beef, even though everything in the comments alludes to the fact that you still have resentment towards me, and there very much so is beef. And then in another screenshot, Nessa's responding to a comment that's like, I'm glad that Chandler no longer has like access to you. And Nessa replies back and goes, she lives really far away from me now. I'm really happy. And Chandler's like, I've been living where I am now for 3 years now. We have not been friends during that time. How do you know I live far away from you? And then when someone told Nessa like, hey, Chandler made a response video to your story time, Nessa's gonna comment and be like, oh, I'm blocked, so I can't watch it. And Chandler's like, you're damn right you're blocked. I've had you blocked for a very long time, almost 4 years now. So rewinding a bit, in 2018, Chandler actually moves to the UK. Shortly after that, she ends up getting a message from Nessa like, hey girl, where should I live in the UK? And Chandler is thoroughly confused. Like, again, we're not friends. Why are you asking me? And in a comment, Nessa gets asked like, why are you moving to the UK? And she's like, oh, I have friends there. And so again, Chandler's like, if you have friends, why are you asking me? Like, go ask them. I'm an American. Like, why would
they monitoring spirits to each other?
So then Nessa responds and says, I wanted to know from an American,
because it sounds like the story just flipped.
And again, Chandler's like, we're not friends. Like, and when she kept saying like, we're not friends throughout the series, throughout like the 10-part story, Chandler was like, I feel like I'm triggering her by continually saying we're not friends, because that's just going to make her want to make more videos about me. I got to a point in this whole like last 10 years where I just decided to be cordial and be friendly with her, because at least when I did that, she would stop making videos about me. But anytime we were in an active beef, this girl just can't keep my name out of her mouth. That's how Chandler genuinely feels. So Chandler is like, again, how could I have copied you and went to the same countries you have gone to if I moved to London first, and then you and Daisy came out to London, and the only reason I even know that you guys ended up coming out to London is because your followers sent me pictures and screenshots saying like, oh, you guys should meet up. trying to be messy. When Nessa made her response to Chandler, responding back to her, Nessa's like, I never went after, you know, Chandler's men, the one from Spain or the one from the UK. And then again, Chandler's like, how did you know about them? Also, Chandler's like, here you go again, manipulating and twisting my words. I didn't say you went after them. I said you befriended my ex on Twitter and you were keying with him. Nessa goes on to outline Chandler's like entire dating history, basically since 2019, being like, you met the guy from Spain and then didn't work out. You try to bring him back to the US, and then you try to, you know, go back to the UK and you met your baby daddy, and then you try to bring your baby daddy back to the US. And Chandler again is sitting there like, how do you know where my exes are from and when I dated them? Where are you getting this information from? I'm actually genuinely a little bit concerned that you have so much detailed information. So then Chandler starts to show screenshots of Nessa's comments of people being like, girl, it sounds like Chandler has moved on and you're still stuck in like 10 years ago, still trying to bring up beef that like doesn't exist anymore. And Chandler's like, exactly. Even other people are starting to realize that I've moved on and you're bringing up old beef for what exactly? So then Chandler shows us a screenshot of Nessa being like, yeah, things didn't work out with a guy in Spain, with a guy in the UK, and then she got pregnant by a random guy, and then she left her baby and then went back to the UK by herself. And again, Chandler's just like, how do you like even know that all of that happened? Like, yes, the thing with the Spain guy was a fling. I did meet a guy in the UK, and then I did.
Wait, do y'all see the heart in the middle of her forehead from the light of the reflection?
Grandparents, like, why does
that
it matter?
So cute.
This is not information that was like readily available on the internet.
I always notice hearts everywhere.
Chandler's vlogs to be able to know all
I am
these
love.
Details. In this bonus part of Chandler's 10-part story time, she goes into how a few years back she made like a clickbait video, basically alluding to her baby daddy maybe being a minor when she got with him. And then in the rest of that same
once you
video,
see it, you're not going to be able to unsee it.
No,
she has a heart on her head through the light.
And so she basically found out through a follower that messaged her directly and was just like, hey, aren't these guys a little too young to be hanging out with you guys? Come to find out, when she looked up her baby daddy's friend, who was a professional soccer player, he was actually 17 years old. So she obviously confronted her baby daddy and was just like, oh my God, how old actually are you? He had told her that he was 20. She was 22 at the time. Come to find out, her baby daddy was actually 18 years old when she met him.
Wow.
So they're about 4 years apart. And she even shows his like ID
well,
and
at
everything,
least he
proving
was
that he
an
was born
adult.
in 2001. Chandler's like, people didn't watch the entire video of me doing like basically this clickbaity story time. If they had, they would have seen that I found out the truth, and I'm telling them the truth. My baby daddy's indeed not a minor when I had a child with him. She's like, but I take full responsibility for kind of starting this rumor and intentionally like spreading this lie, basically. Obviously, having allegations and being a PDF file is like horrifying, and so Chandler's like, it's really harmful and I just wish people would stop. In Nessa's story, she was trying to say that the baby daddy was the reason why Chandler packed up and left the UK and moved back to LA. And Chandler's like, no, I met my baby daddy when I went back to the UK. I didn't leave because of him. I left because I just did not like living in London, and I tried to get out of my lease at like the 6-month mark, but they basically told me I was gonna have to pay the rest of the lease up front to be able to get out of it. So she went home for a little bit at the 6-month mark, and when she went back to the UK, that's when she met her baby daddy. And then she tried to stay in UK as long as she could for like, I guess she got to like the 10-month mark and just said, you know, it's screwed up. So when Chandler is saying that Nessa's still talking about her 10 years later, they're like little posts, right? Nessa would go and post something like, oh, I would never let my baby daddy like embarrass me and my kids and call me a bad mom. And that specific type of situation would be actively happening on the internet with Chandler and her ex. They would be going back and forth publicly. She's like, yes, I was a child, I was young.
Anybody
internet drama
see
stuff,
this
but like that stuff
story
was public.
live
and then
when
here
it was
comes Nessa,
happening?
like subtweet her basically and be like, oh, I could never see myself like letting a baby daddy come back and embarrass me, da-da-da. And people would screenshot that and send that over to Chandler, and Chandler would be like, why are you talking about me? She showed us so many screenshots of Chandler confronting Nessa and being like, hey, I heard you're talking about me. Like, it was like 2 or 3 different screenshots that Chandler showed. She even showed us one screenshot of Nessa being in the comments being like, I really believe that Chandler wanted this drama. She was craving it. I'm convinced. And Chandler's like, I'm pregnant. I'm currently pregnant. I have a child. Like, those are my focuses. I'm not worried about this internet drama stuff. You very much are. Like, what makes you think that I'm craving it when I'm actively never spoken about you, never brought you up, never did a story time, but that's consistently always your brand of content, is bringing up story times that are messy. Chandler also mentions that over the years, Nessa has sent her numerous amount of apologies trying to like rekindle their friendship, but Chandler's like,
stay away, girl.
The public fallout that we had, why would she ever think that we would be friends again. I really don't know. But at the end of the day, during one of those like times that she was trying to like apologize to her, she was like asking advice about like something that was going on between her and Daisy, the ex-best friend of Chandler. Nessa basically did the same thing to Daisy that she's doing to Chandler right now, basically making a story time, being really vague, but adding specific details that would make the audience think like, oh my god, I know who you're talking about. And then they would go and they would harass Daisy and, you know, write really mean things in the comment section. Daisy had to deal with the repercussions of Nessa's story time. And so she's trying to get advice about that whole situation. And basically Chandler's telling her like, I really hope that you've changed. I want you to do better. Like, get out of this drama. You know, I want better for you. Da, 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 da. And then she told her like, hey, you have to remember, like, just because you say you changed doesn't mean like people magically believe you. Don't you remember? You literally call me the N-word, hard ER, multiple times. Like, people are just not going to magically believe you because you like say you changed damage control. It just doesn't work like that. But I hope you're doing better. I hope that you're staying out of drama, and because you're, you know, for the first time showing signs of not trying to make this situation worse for you between you and Daisy, and it's not my battle to fight anyway, I'm gonna delete my post and I'm gonna back off. Basically, this was like a while ago that they were having this conversation. Now enter in the present day. I actually, right before I started making this video, got a DM specifically from Chandler. And she was like, hey girl, I saw that you were going to make a summary about my TikToks. I just wanted to drop this screenshot specifically because I no longer want to make any more posts about this. She doesn't want to talk about the situation. She really is done. But she said, hey, I want to show you this screenshot that somebody sent me. It's definitely on the internet somewhere if people wanted to find it. Now, the name that she has Nessa underneath is obviously a name that she can change. And so she has her under simply pussy ass something you guys can read right here. But you can see that Nessa uses the hard ER right there. One thing about Chandler that we all can appreciate is the receipts. I think if anybody was being accused of something so egregious, the first thing they would want to do is like defend themselves and be like, hey, I didn't do that. If you guys look at the screenshot, she doesn't acknowledge it at all. Nessa just says, oh my god, it's you getting involved in this situation. That's what's disrespectful. Like, at the end of the day, Chandler said that Nessa's really good at throwing stone and hiding her hand. And when people in the comments were saying, like, girl, you're dragging this, like, let it go, da-da-da-da, basically, Nessa was saying things like, oh my god, I told a story that happened to me in my past one time and I'm dragging it. Like, I'm the one that's giving obsessed. And Chandler's like, you're playing victim. This story happened almost 10 years ago. The question still remains, why did you bring it back up? Someone in Nessa's comments was also like, she's doing this for attention. She's doing this so she can stay relevant. All these other allegations. Now, both these girls have their own opinion on who blocked who and why, but one thing that Nessa mentions is like, I blocked you because you were talking about the trauma that I went through as a child and you said that I deserved it and that it should have happened to me. And Chandler's like, show me the receipts, show me. And in Nessa's story, she's like, I know you have the pictures of you saying those things, show the people. That's when Chandler brings up a screenshot and she's like, I said nothing of the sort. I said, I hope that the relationship that you and your mother have is now one that you and your daughter have. I hope that it's better. I never said that you deserved it. Any of the things that she's saying, it just simply never happened. And Nessa goes into a story time when Chandler and her ex were going back and forth in a live, and I guess it was getting really hectic, and like basically she said that Chandler was crashing out, and so Chandler was like, yeah, I saw you in that live and I blocked you out of there because you had no business being in there. I already saw that you were making shady posts about me, talking about I would never go back to my baby daddy, da-da-da-da. Why are you in my like live now when I'm like specifically going in with him? Like, it's not about you. Like, you don't
Why
need to
do
be
people
here.
do that?
Out of it. And so
keep
Nessa,
your relationship off the internet.
She was blocked or knew that she was blocked. She still found a way to watch the live. She ended up hitting up Chandler directly and being like, hey girl, like, stop going back and forth with your ex. It doesn't look good. Like, do better for you and your kid. About you and your kid. Like, he's obviously childish, da-da-da-da. And like, Chandler's looking at her like, girl, we are not friends. Like, we're friendly, we're cordial, but we are not friends. Like, leave me alone. You're being super intrusive, right? That's when Chandler says she blocked Nessa. I forgot if this happened in May or in June. The very next month, Chandler gets messages saying, hey, Nessa's talking about you again. And so again, they have a conversation a month later about this whole situation, like, hey, why are you talking about me? Nessa's entire defense is, I never said your name directly, and because I didn't say your name directly, I'm not talking about you. So when Chandler hit her up in July 2021, basically being like, girl, I can't believe you're still talking about me, she was just like, clearly you're miserable. You just had a baby a week ago and you can't help yourself but to
major
stay
narcissist
in social media drama.
Major narcissist.
Like, what do I have to do for you?
She has issues.
Nessa's entire response to basically Chandler saying all of that was, girl, I don't know what I did. You just like unfollowed me and I didn't know what happened. And so Chandler's like, are you even listening to anything I'm saying to you? So after everything went down, she basically deleted everything. Like, Chandler deleted all the videos. And so when she deleted everything, she thought she can go to bed and like think that everything was going to be fine. She wakes up in the morning and people are like coming at her like, oh, so you deleted everything? Clearly you did it out of guilt. And Chandler's like, wow, I can't win. I can't lose. I just want to be left out of this group chat, essentially. Then Chandler ends off the 10-part story being like, so basically she put up a like little TikTok with like, you know, lip singing words. And she said something like, somebody said that my kid could get hit by a train, something along those lines. And she didn't say who said it or anything, but obviously people picked up the pieces, especially because what's happening right now, and assumed that she was talking about Nessa. So they obviously started going like, oh my God, I can't believe she said something. Even one of her own friends was like, who would say something like this, right? Chandler was like, I just did exactly what Nessa does to me right back to her. Gave her a piece of her own medicine. And look, it's weird, right? Like, why would I do that and not mention who it was? It wasn't even Nessa that said that in the first place. It was actually like a random hater that said that. But because of the time and the perspective that I wrote it in and all of that, like, people ran with their imagination and assumed it was Nessa. It wasn't, though. And this is the issue with posting story times without receipts. This is the issue with not, you know, digging a little bit deeper and just believing whatever somebody tells you, because you end up in these types of situations. I just wanted to like point out and basically give you a live, you know, demonstration of exactly what Nessa is doing and why it's wrong. And I would hope that moving forward, people will not continue to like add fuel to fire where there really isn't any smoke. It just seems like Chandler wants to be left alone, and it just seems like Nessa wants to tell a good story. I mean, I wish both of these girls the best. I think Chandler, mentioned like she's pregnant, so I'm wishing you the best with your pregnancy. I did have permission from Chandler to share that screenshot, by the way. I really do hope both of these girls are able to move on, leave this in the past. If it's a monitoring spirit, you probably don't want it around anyway, right? So probably best to just like leave it be. You guys tagged me in this a bunch. I wanted to make sure I quickly got it out to you guys. I appreciate you guys as always.
Bye, girl. That was a lot to unpack, okay? Not really, but it was. It was a lot of I don't know, back and forth. Who was in the wrong, Chandler or Nessa? Who was the monitoring spirit, Chandler or Nessa? I feel they both had their weird reactions to certain situations. I feel they both need to go their separate ways. I do feel that the one was mimicking and following the other. But at the same time, who fucking cares? I don't. Child, that was a lot of bull crap for no reason. My apologies. But if you stay till the end, let me know. Hope you enjoyed this show. You reached the end of another video. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, honey. And let me know in the comments how you felt. What you think about this video? What do you think about the last story? The last story was the main story. It was literally like 20 minutes long. And so there you go. Let's talk about it in the comments. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Please like, comment, and subscribe for your weekly dose of a Sunday and Thursdays. Hit the links in the link tree in the description. Let me just contact me. Hit me, follow me on all social medias. Follow me on my websites. Make sure y'all support. Get you some merchandise, get you some journals, some ebooks, some just open your mind to what Essence has to offer you, okay? Via Oshun Amare. All right, y'all, I'm out. I appreciate you. Ashe.
Open my third eyes, go on my way. I'ma open my woman, I be in dementia. You on my body, but I'm not a Christian. I'm not a religion, but you two are true. If this is how the